Rory,
so if I can have a hand show, how many of you are thinking about going to uni? And then keep your hands up if you think about doing design. Or like not sure. Good. And don't want to go to uni at all, hate the concept. Yeah. Okay. But I'm going to, of course, talk about why to go to university. Easy answer. It's the best time of your life. It's the time when you have the freedom to do all the things that you should be doing at that age, get an education, and then be able to have the skill set to go and do a job which is generally really fun. That's me. So it's hard work doing uni, it's hard work doing design especially. I think, biased as I am, but product design is definitely a harder course because you'll spend 5 days a week having lectures, just like you do probably here. When you're not having lectures, you'll be doing the coursework, probably like you do here, and then the other time you'll be in the workshops making things, making prototypes. It's not that sort of course where you have a couple hours lectures a week. It's far more practical. But because of that, you have to party hard in some ways. And it was surprisingly hard to find photos where I could probably actually show people of your age. A lot of them, you have so much fun, you're passed out most of the time. But it's not all about the fun. You do have to do the projects, and the projects you do are great, especially in design. It's that time when you can mess up. When you get to industry, it's worrying. You mess up, it's £4 grand worth of mistake. You mess up here, and you're awarded a better grade because you've pushed it. It's pretty much playing to some extent. You know, design is creative, and you spend a lot of days sketching, you spend a lot of time making things. What other courses could you do like that? You know, you get to work predominantly, I'd say, on your own, but a lot of the time also in groups. And whether you do that on other subjects, not so sure. It's also the clubs. When you're at university, you've got such an array of different clubs. You've got so many choices, and pretty much anything you can think of, whether you're into drinking tea, whether you're into having arguments, or fighting. There is a club for all of you, and you meet so many people that are such like-minded. And because it's such an array, there's thousands of people, you're going to just meet amazing people. Placement. Okay, so it's probably quite biased towards design, but placement's so important. For those who don't know, if you're doing a sandwich course at university, you're doing a sandwich course, you spend a year in industry. And that's after you've done 2 years. So the structure of uni tends to be you have a first year where you party hard, you don't really do too much work, but you get up to the same skill. So everyone's at that same level. It's kind of like AS here, I suppose. You've done your GCSEs, and now everyone needs to be at the same level before going into A2. It's the same. Everyone's done their A levels, and you might be the best in your course, you might be the worst in your course. And you go to university and you find out that if you're the best, you're no longer the best. If you're the worst, maybe you're still the worst. That's not a good example. But when you've done first year, you've had that time to mess around, you get into second year. Second year is far much harder. It's like your A2. Then you go on placement. Placement is that time you get to put into practice all those things you've learned, and you just step up hugely. It's those times when you learn that you can't make those mistakes anymore. You've got people who are pushing you far harder than you were at uni, and you've got real life things you can actually start to talk about. You know, we all like to think that maybe some of the stuff we design actually gets made, but it's quite cool. I watched James Bond's film the other day, and some of the parts and the things that were going on there, I worked on. And when you start seeing that, and when people start seeing that, it makes you feel pretty good. And that's what I was working on in placement. So once you graduate, you start working on real things. It's pretty exciting. So confidence is a big thing. I think definitely when I was applying for the course here, when I was in your position a year or two ago, and I finished my GCSEs, and I was looking around in the DT room that you guys work in today, and I was seeing the work that was there, I was nervous. I did not feel like I could ever get to that level. It was probably AS, A2 work. I was worried that after my GCSEs, I would never be that good. And I nearly didn't apply to do the DT course here, because I thought I'd never be able to get to that level. think it's the same when it comes to uni. I'd done fairly well here, and I went and looked around all the universities, and you think, wow, that's a step up. You know, am I ever going to be able to be that good? Am I ever going to be able to do that sort of thing? You can. Don't worry, sim will let you know you can, but university gives you so much confidence. The confidence to be able to talk in front of many people, the confidence in your work, the confidence in your drawing, the confidence in your designs. It's not too bad here where the dimensions don't make a big impact on your results. You need the confidence when you're designing that the dimensions don't make an impact that the chair you sit on falls apart on the sort of 100th person that sits down. So I've got a few tips on what you need to do if you're going to go to university. Is apply even if you're not sure. All the people that said you're not sure, you definitely don't want it, there's nothing to lose by applying. You know, maybe design's not the right course that you want to do, and it's a bit of a worry when you think about the costs, but I say don't worry about the loan. The loan is not an issue. I think it's value for money. I know £9 sounds a lot a year, but I totted up how many conferences and workshops I went on in my final year, and it cost about the same as what my tuition fees cost for a year. And I had a final year. And I had, if you were to tot up the course, say a CAD course, if you were paying for that out of your own pocket, going to an exhibition, going to a conference, maybe doing another course, you're probably going to get to £9 pretty quickly. These things cost a lot of money. You know, and to have tuition 5 days a week, access to workshops 5 days a week, that's pretty good value for money. Be confident. If you're worried that you're never going to get to that work, then we all have doubts. It's the worst thing. But you are good enough. If you're doing this course with Sim, don't worry. Sim gets you ready to be Brunel level or, you know, good design level. Don't doubt yourself and don't doubt your work. You might think that it's impossible, and hopefully you're not thinking that. But if you are, be confident, your work is good enough. It takes a long time, a lot of hard work. 3 years is a long time, 4 years is a long time for your course to be able to go from where you are now to actually designing in real life, designing in industry. My thought is that you should visit at least 3 universities. I visited 4, and that's probably not a huge amount. I visited Bristol to get a reference. I think that's a good idea. Get a reference of what the nearest university is to you. And then remember that, and don't go anywhere near it, because you do not want to be close. I'm going to be super biased here and say you want to be living away from home. It's the best. I saw your facial expression. Okay, it costs more money, but you get that freedom. And if you're at home, I think you feel like you need to be spending time back home. If you're miles and miles and miles away, you only need to go home at Christmas and the summer. And if you're going to be doing design, you're going to be working 7 days a week sometimes. It's going to take over your life to some extent, but in a good way, because you're spending time with your friends, doing what you love doing. And if you love design, then doing design every single day is the best course. My other thought, I was trying to think what else you would do and what else I would have done if I didn't do a degree and didn't do a product design degree. And I'm not totally sure about the options. I know apprenticeships are pretty good these days, but they're few and far between. The degree does allow you a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunities. The positions you can go in are at a different level to perhaps otherwise. So, as I said, I'm biased, but I would have a big think of what else and whether it is worth just applying. But definitely visit 3 universities and visit them far, far away. I kind of was trying to think about why do I design, why do my friends design, and why you guys might want to design. You already made a conscious decision that it's interesting you, because you're here on Sim's course and you're here listening to me. Big thing for me is helping people. I didn't realise just how much I enjoy it, but a lot of the work I do does directly impact people, whether it's the previous work I've done with sort of prosthetics and being able to help someone who otherwise couldn't walk, or whether it's just making someone feel better, look better, get fitter, it does make you feel good when you are impacting people's lives in a positive way. And in design, you get a big opportunity to be able to actually do that. Problem solving, and if you like a challenge, if you go head on into the difficulties and you enjoy that, you know, if you're more of the fight than the flight, then product design's great for you. If you like a challenge, if you like things to be tough, if you don't mind working for a good number of hours just to solve something, just because it interests you, or because you like going through that process, then it's a great course. I've realised recently that I really like products, especially now, like, I'm out of uni and I have money. I just like products. It's like your iPhone. If you're so anal about your choice of phone that you refuse to buy anything that doesn't have a certain radius, a certain surface finish, a certain colour, if you're that nickety-pickety about everything, you know, then product design is great for you. If you're concerned about textures, thicknesses, just everything, if that interests you, and maybe it doesn't interest you so much yet, but you have those inklings, then the more you do, the more you tend to love products. And I think people who really genuinely love products make good designers. And then the process. You guys are familiar with the process because you're doing your course, but from the research, talking to people, finding out what they need in their lives, finding out what their difficulties are, to the manufacturing side, when you're trying to work out how these things can even be made, when you're making it in the workshops. If you really enjoy the process, you get to do so much in design. I see people in my office who just do purely admin work, and all they do is sit on their computer. They never get to go out, and they do typing and stuff that I don't even know what they do. I go out, I see clients, I visit people who need my help, I analyse, I interview, I research, then I get to do design and I'm in the office. And then I have to talk to manufacturers about how it can be made, then I visit manufacturers. I'm hardly ever even in the office half the time. If you want a job where you don't just sit in front of a desk, you have to sit in front when you're designing. If you don't want to just be sitting in front of a computer the whole time, there's very few jobs like that these days where you are doing this sort of level of skill set. Design is great for that. When I was also thinking, why design? I was trying to think who suits design. I was trying to think about the sort of people my friends are, and I, and everyone I know in design, and my team, and we're kind of dysfunctional. I think 10% of my year group had learning difficulties of some sort, whether that be dyslexia, ADHD, or such. People who are slightly rebellious, maybe. We definitely don't follow the rules. We definitely get in trouble quite a bit, and dislike sometimes being told certain things. People who have those sort of personality traits, I think, do very well in design. I think perhaps we're not the perfect people. I definitely don't know anyone who has all of the skills, you know, who's a good writer, who's a good mathematician, and a good product designer. I don't think you have all those things. If you struggle on one or the other, it probably means that your focus is on something else. And if your focus is on something creative and design-wise, then you're probably going to be quite a good designer. I think if you're perfect, I don't think those guys design well. I think it's that rebellious edge, that lack of maybe focus as well. One of the reasons maybe I'm not in the office all the time is because we can't sit still for too long. I'm very sort of conscious of the fact this is quite a long talk. Normally I can hardly sit still for 45 minutes, and you guys have to listen to me for this amount of time. So if you have troubles in this talk and you can't sit still, then it's probably because you're a designer. I thought I'd explain some of the ways you can actually become a certain type of designer through some of my friends. Emily is the general manager of Therefore, and they are a design agency, design consultancy that do work for TomTom, Samsonite, I should have really remembered all these, but a huge range of products. And this is your classic industrial designer. It's your standard sort of products, not necessarily your iPhone, but things like these, maybe better quality. they design. So it's not the brand that has an in-house design, they will go out to consultancy. So this is your material finish, speccing, your design, and taking it all the way up to pre-production, probably. So they might do some basic manufacturing, but once they've got this design, they pass it on to someone else. And the way to do that, she did product design at A level, like you guys. She did maths, psychology, and then she did phphysics, AS, and biology and AS. So I think what's mostly important there is your design, your maths, and psychology does help. I think those are the A levels I took. And that does put you in a position for design. So you then went and did a BSc, product design, did a placement at Therefore, then spent some time interning in short jobs as a designer in design research. Design research is pretty much getting people ready before they start actually doing the design work, understanding the user more. We'll come on to that in a bit. But she worked for a company called Seymour Powell. If you haven't heard of them, you definitely need to know them because they're big players and very sort of important in the design world. She worked there for a while as a researcher, became a product designer for another company down near here, actually in Bath, and then went back as a design researcher before becoming general manager. I think to get that sort of level of experience, you need to do lots of little bits, and you've got to understand the process. Emily was good because she understood the bit before, and then she could also implement. If that doesn't excite you, my friend Pat, he's over in LA at the moment designing Tesla cars. So if you're familiar with Teslas, the sports cars, fully electric, amazing cars. He did product design, did fine arts, ICT, maths. So if you're doing those sort of A levels, went to Brunel, did a BSc in product design engineering, did his placement at an automotive company. I should sort of say that Brunel and other sort of top-end universities do help you find placements. You're not alone. And became a human factors engineer outside of Tesla, off of his work at SMR, and now he's the studio engineer at Tesla. So within a fairly short period of time, those A-levels, that sort of degree, gets you working on that. And then maybe if you're more engineering inclined, again, product design A-level, maths, physics, chemistry, some more science background, and engineering BSc. Simon actually did his placement at a model making company for P&G Gillette. So you know your Gillette razors, lots of your anti-dandruff shampoos and what have you. They're all made by Procter & Gamble in Reading. Graduated, became a design engineer at Dyson, and now he's a design engineer at Dyson. It doesn't really explain what he does, but he has multiple people under him. He manages people, and he works on these sort of things. A lot of Brunel, a lot of Loughborough end up going to Dyson, a lot less at Tesla. So these are the sort of routes into design. If these are the things you want to be designing, if you want to be designing cool products that we all keep on ourselves, then you probably need to do a lot more design jobs, maybe shorter period jobs, and get a placement that's relevant. If you want to go into automotive, you're in there for the long run because there's so much more to understand. It's a lot more complicated. And then if you want to do Dyson, I think you just need to kind of go to Brunel or Loughborough. Which brings me on to my good, better, best model of universities. So you don't have to do the research. I've given you 6 universities that you should at least look at, if not visit, if you're into design or design engineering. In the sort of best, this is all from my experience in the exhibitions and partly made up of the rankings, Guardian rankings. Brunel and Loughborough, they have been at the top for a good number of years, and that's from a lot of things. That's from their research, their teachers, and the type of students they let in. You have to have an interview to get in, but I definitely wouldn't let that put you off. You will all get the interview if good enough. They do product design, BSc, and product design engineering. They do industrial design and technology, BA. Basically, the difference between those is if you've got a maths and physics AS level, at least B, you can do the BSc. If you don't have the maths and physics, you do the BA. Essentially, you do it practically exactly the same. There's hardly any difference. There's a little bit more technical stuff in the BSc, and with the engineering, you just spend more time on CAD. You have to get an A, B, B in both of those. And the same with Loughborough. Loughborough do a BSc and a BA, and the only difference is you have to have a Maths or Physics at AS. So those are the entry requirements for Brunel and Loughborough. Say better, just below those guys, are Northumbria, Nottingham and Trent. Northumbria are actually really, really good for their BA. They only offer a BA, but it's very conceptual. Brunel and Loughborough are very similar. They have a very technical background and a technical understanding. So you come out and you can talk with electricians, you can talk with civil engineers, you can talk with manufacturing people. You come out of Northumbria and you talk with artists. That's probably a massive simplification of it, but if you're really into the aesthetic side of things, Northumbria do a very good course. It's 300 UCAS points, it's only a BA. Nottingham and Trent do the BSc, it's a little bit less points, it's 280 UCAS points. It's still a very good university. And then I'd say slightly below that is Montfort and Brighton. Again, 280 UCAS points for their BSc, and ABB on Brighton. So if it was me, I would pick one from up here and one from down here if you're applying, maybe visit a few. I personally applied to Brunel, De Montfort, and had interviews at Brunel, Loughborough and De Montfort. If you're really interested in design, I wouldn't focus on any of the others. If you're really passionate and you're doing this course, you're gonna get an interview, you're gonna get in, or you have a very good chance of getting in. I think we proved that with my particular year, where 3 of the Sims course all went to Brunel. So we all had, I think we had 100% interview and success rate. So talk to Sim if you're interested in these, and you have a very good chance of getting in. But those are the ones that apply. So I thought I'd explain a little bit about how I've kind of got to where I am and what I kind of do. As I said, I did product design, IT, psychology and AS Maths. I did that AS Maths so I could do the BSc. I wasn't totally sure I would get that AS Maths, as it's not my best of skills, and I ended up doing it twice, and in the end I got a C, so I managed to, at that time there was entry requirements of C. I'm definitely no maths genius. I then, in my second year, before I did A2, I did an internship at Pashley Cycles. It's a British-made bicycle company. When I was doing my A-levels, I was bike mad. I loved bikes. All I did was ride bikes and spend time in the workshop and in the studio with Sim. That set me up quite well for A2, and it also set me in a more fixed position towards design. I think internships are great. At one point I wanted to do architecture. I did an internship. I decided I didn't want to do architecture. I thought I wanted to do product. I did my product internship. I decided I actually wanted to do product. Architecture was too much maths for me, and yeah, that wasn't for me. So I applied to Brunel, I got in, and after my first year, after partying and having a good time, I realised I needed to check that I was actually good enough for this. I was having doubts in my mind, and I did another internship at Pashley. And I ended up going back and saw what I designed when I was there, and even though this was just where you guys are, I designed some production system. It was fairly simple, but they're now using it, and at that point I could see they're using it, which is a great confidence booster. These things about internships, they do often use your work. I came back, I designed an exhibition stand for Eurobike, which is like the second biggest bike show. A lot of pressure on my shoulders. I had about a week to do it, but it was great. I loved it. I loved being under pressure, and it just cemented in my mind that design was for me. After 2 years, I did my placement. I did my placement where Pat did his at SM Automotive, basically designing rear view mirrors on cars. So Jaguar Land Rover, Volvo, Toyota, the new Aston Martin, which is out in the James Bond film, I worked on the mirror. The new Range Rovers, I worked on those mirrors. And it's nice when these things drive past, and it's nice when you see these things before everyone else. It's nice when you go around the test track in these cars that no one else is seeing. I think it was sort of 2 weeks before the Top Gear episode came out with the brand new unveiling of the Range Rover, and I'd already been sitting around it at the test track going around 80 miles an hour. So, yeah, if you love product, these sort of things are excellent. One of the things I would recommend considering when you're also thinking about uni is, does your university offer collaborative projects? And I think not just product would do this, but in your final year, when you get to decide what project you want to do, either create your own, which is a bit risky because you have to be confident in your idea, or you collaborate with a business. I chose to collaborate with a business because not only would they fund it, which is always nice so it's not coming out of your pocket, but also they give you a lot of advice, help, and where my lack of expertise and lack of engineering, perhaps skills led regards to complex mechanics, they helped me. So my project was elevated by them, and I was given free-ish research. And also gives you pretty much an extra internship that you've worked on. I then graduated from uni and was a little bit confused what I wanted to do regarding product, because at SMR I had a great time, but you're just designing to make other people rich, and it gets to you a little bit at the time when these people are multi-millionaires and they don't care for you. It starts to, maybe I'm too conscious, but it made me sort of feel a little bit less. So I internship at a company called Tiger Print that does stuff for M&S. They're the consultancy that does products for M&S, which concreted my desire not to want to work for such a large company like that. And throughout uni, I sort of went towards a thing called human factors. And I'm not sure if you've heard of human factors. Maybe it's all about sort of designing with the user at the front of your mind. And I had an opportunity to work where I now work at the University of Central Lancashire within a small team of people that focus on helping small businesses, medium-sized businesses, take new products to market, and the products that they have, upping them from human factors-based research. And it's partly that, it's partly also pure consultancy work for small businesses too. So that's kind of what I do now, and I'll talk a bit about that more, mainly with this image. I think this sums up what I do. I was at a conference a couple of months ago, and they said what I do is like, it's the merge of industry and academia. Pretty much, we have so much facility at the university that we can all use. So we've been working on designing this, which is available in Argos, available in Tesco's. It's basically a football training aid. You've got a ramp, which you can kick a ball at and it flicks back at you. And you've got a sort of mesh net that pings it back at you, and then a basket here, which you shove it in. And this was designed for kids that just like playing football in the street. It gives them something to do. They took it to us and we said, well, this is great, but we can see it in the professional area because there's no way to quantify professional football players. It's all, oh, Rooney is kind of good, or he scored a lot of goals. Well, that's great if you're a striker, but if you're a defender, you have that same sort of rate. So we use a lot of cool tracking equipment. I'll talk a bit about that later. And we can quantify things. We have lots of people that are far more clever than I who can quantify these things. And you get all this data, and you can design around what you found out. Without going into too much boring details, pretty much we've redesigned this, we've upped it to a point where now, as I was saying to Sim, Rooney's got one. It's now in Manchester City and it's in Liverpool, the version up from this. And we're starting to work on an even higher level. So that's kind of the work we do. It's dealing with these products that have so much potential, but they've been designed by maybe a small consultancy that haven't seen what we see and haven't got the facilities that we have. So the human factors stuff we work on is pretty much thinking about how we can make the experience better for the people involved by thinking about the whole interaction between product and person. And this is David, who is a consultant doctor in Manchester, and he has to stick IV lines. I don't know how familiar you are with IV lines, but these things go straight into the heart and you can direct drug access. He has to stick these into children, small children, and he has to do quite a lot of them, and so do his nurses. And if you can imagine making something as delicate and as important as that hard, then that's what he's got to deal with. He has to deal with fiddly bits that are difficult to do, and he has to do a lot of them, and it's connected to your heart, so this is important. So we like to try and help and improve those sort of situations, and we do that through understanding what his issues are. We do that with some hardware called eye tracking. We think about how you can sort of understand how someone's going to trust these interactions. And also in this talk, I'm going to briefly go slightly separately onto injection molding. But eye tracking is really interesting. You have a pair of glasses, which aren't too dissimilar to your shades, your Ray-Bans and what have you. You shove them on the person that's doing stuff, you can see exactly what they're seeing through a front camera. You can see what their eyes are looking at using some small cameras in these glasses that are really lightweight, and you've got gyros and accelerometers, the sort of tech you've got on your phone. So we can see what he's focusing on, at what time, in what situation. So why do you want to see what someone else is seeing when you can see it from all these different angles that we're filming right now? Because just because their head's one way and they're looking, you can't see exactly what they're focusing on and what they're doing at the same time. It's understanding these interactions completely. Because if you just say that guy is staring at a poster on the wall, is it because he's really interested in the content, or is it because he's confused and he doesn't understand it? You know, are they standing around because they have time to spare and they're waiting, or are they standing around because they're nervous, or are they standing around because they're just confused? These are really important things, and this is what we do. Whether you can't really implement this into your work right now, but it's good to understand what other people are doing. So use it to understand what people are actually looking at what time. Pretty much the person that's using this, they'll just stick them on their head. We'll let them do their thing. You know, we don't sort of get too close to them. They do it, and we can then analyze it afterwards. Ask questionnaires. One of the studies that we've done is some work that was done quite a while ago for Halfords. And they stuck loads of cameras, similar cameras to what we've got in here, around. And they sent just normal customers around. And afterwards the customers came out and they asked questions. And they said, did you see such and such product? Oh yeah, yes. Did you see such and such product? Yes. And when they checked back on all the cameras, they found that they lied. 60% inaccurate. That's not a good betting on. So there's the basics, and there's the sort of stuff that we're trying to do and what we do. And the importance between that is massively. If someone says that they've seen all these products, you're going to spend no more money on it, or you're going to spend even more money on doing what you're doing. If you fully understand, you can design in a better way. What you actually get out eventually is, out of the analysis, you get heat maps. You see where people have been looking, and from that you make the changes off the data that you've got from here. So this particular example, we've got David, and this is an example where he's not fitting it on a child for sort of use of photos. Usability of this particular product he's using, can't really show it because it's still in IP stages. But by understanding where he's got difficulties, we're being able to improve the speed, being able to improve the usability, and overall stress on the child. It's a very stressful situation when someone's trying to poke a tube into your heart. And by making this as quickly as possible, you're taking so much stress off the child, also off the doctor when he's got to do lots of these a day, and you've got nurses holding these people down. So we try and improve the sort of quality, the ease, the use, the enjoyment, the stress. We're trying to just make life easier. There's one thing about sort of making life easier, and there's one thing actually getting someone to use your products. I think a lot of people design for themselves in mind, which is great if you're selling to yourself, but I don't think you're going to sell and buy all the products yourself. Most of the products I deal with, and I think a lot of designers, are dealing with fairly new products. How do you get someone to accept and uptake a product that's completely new? You know, having a new version of something like a phone, you know, as soon as it's shinier, better, powerful, more beautiful, you're going to buy it. People are instantly going to want that. But how do you get someone to actually use something that's completely different, something that they've never seen before? And this is based off the work I did with trying to get elderly people to use exoskeletons. So exoskeletons are products that are basically robots that sit on the outside of your body, and old people are notorious for not liking technology and hating new things. So it's a big thing trying to understand how you can get people to wear that. I'm not sure whether I would even trust that. Would you? So trust is really important, and I worked with a number of people on creating a set of rules, principles on how to create trustful interactions. And these are stuff that you can implement into your own design work, your own coursework. And it's basic principles. It's communicate clear affordance, it's visibility of system status, facilitate peer proof, set expectations and verify, and at the end of the day, culture trumps everything. So what do I mean by that? When you know how to use something, you don't feel silly, right? It makes you feel good because you know exactly, that's how I turn something on. That's the power button. You trust it because it's the same thing you've always seen. It's these chairs. You sat down on them before even checking that they were structurally safe. No one checked that it would, especially with these pivots, you just put it down and you sat on it. And that's because you know how to use these. You've used these many times. It looks like a chair. It must be a chair. Use semiotics. So use graphics that people are familiar with. Use designs. Use essences and looks that people know, feel comfortable with. Like the power button. Everyone hates being lied to, and products do it all the time. I like the fact my phone does actually tell me how much percentage battery I have left. One of the big moans in phones is battery use and how long it lasts. If there is a problem, let your product actually be honest and tell someone that it's a problem, and that there's something that's going to be done about it. I don't know how many people use Twitter, hopefully probably all of you, but when in its infancy, when it got overloaded, it would always have this whale that was saying, you know, I'm sorry. Be honest that the product isn't working properly, or it's having issues, or it's broken, and give feedback that the user will want to see. Don't lie in your product, be honest. Like battery indicator. I bet everyone here uses Amazon. I bet there's no one who doesn't use Amazon. And when you use Amazon, I bet you all, mostly all, look at the reviews. We're so interested in what other people think. Not experts, but people just like us. That if you can facilitate peer proof in any way, whether this is a digital way of facilitating peer proof, or anything that gets people talking. And there's a process of buying, and it comes down to knowing about it, then trusting it, liking it, and then buying it. But you have to know about it first. You have to trust it. And people talking about your product in a positive way is one of the most powerful things. You know, we have social media, and it's so powerful. If someone's rating it, that's not an expert, that's just like you, that you can see yourself in, and that's very, very powerful. Again, it comes back to sort of knowing and liking to be in control. If we're going to trust something, we need to be aware of what it's doing, and then have that tell us that that's what it's done. When you lock your car, it gives you that flashing light, and it gives you that noise. And it sounds like it's locking. It's a good kadunk. Coin stars. If you go into Tesco's, Asda's, Sainsbury's, you know the Coinstar machines that you put your coppers in, and it gives you, maybe you haven't done that, or maybe you've seen other people use it. But you put all your coppers in, and it gives you out a token that you can then spend that money, converts it into not just loose change, but money you can use to then spend at Sainsbury's or Tesco's or give to charity. When they were doing their design phase of that, they had to go through iterations of the noise, because when the money was put in, it would give the token out too fast, and people didn't trust it. They thought, oh no, that's definitely not counting my money. It must have undercounted it. So what they actually now do is the noise that you hear of it going through the machine is actually just a recording. Yeah? And they slow the process down on purpose. It counts it way before it gives you that token. And that music keeps going on. And it sounds like your coins are being counted. They've been counted ages ago. But because you have to set the expectations, and that expectation is, it takes me a long time to count these coppers, therefore a robot will also take some time. Be faster, but not that fast. So verifying that is very important. And that's important from your brand as well as your product. And I think one of the things that we don't talk about for quite a while in product design is the brand's so important. You're trying to design with the brand in mind, but everything you do is representing the brand. It's like everything you do reflects on St. Brendan's. You know, if you're playing for a sports club, you're playing for St. Brendan's, everything you're doing for a product has to sit within a brand. You know, Apple's never going to do anything too crazy because their brand is so powerful. You're buying it because of their brand. They're never going to, I was going to say they're never going to do anything in pink, but they've kind of already done that with rose gold. But they're never going to go so far away from their brand because it just devalues their products, not just their brand. So don't give surprises in your products. Don't ever give surprises unless it's going to be a really positive, nice surprise that they can anticipate. And with all that in mind, at the end of the day, culture completely trumps everything. Culture is so important. Understanding the user, understanding in what environment, what sort of people, it all makes such a big difference. Everyone has different knowledge and experiences, and those need to be taken into account for. Because in America, you write the date like this. In the UK, you write the date like this. You try and get US guys to start inserting dates, you're not going to know what's been done on what dates. Taking into account just the smallest of cultural differences is so important in product use and in digital. So cater for specific people, specific markets, using language that they understand, that you've researched, that you know they will. Parts, styles, that's familiar. You know, certain countries will prefer gold far more than other countries that prefer silver, blacks, whites, Pantones of pastel colour. It's taken down to each individual sort of specific cultural area. So I think I've kind of gone on quite a bit about why to go to university, what you kind of end up doing in design, how you end up getting there, and then some of the things that maybe aren't covered that you end up doing. And now I kind of want to know if you've been listening with some questions, really. So, has anyone got any questions about uni? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, do you find you're more employable by doing a BSc compared to a BA?
No, I think it's more important that you've gone to university that's recognised. All my BSc and BA friends, well, it's been a while now since we graduated, but still, everyone's employed. However, what's more important is doing a placement. People who, on my course, didn't do a placement, they didn't get to go in the best project groups because people wouldn't want some. You've put so many years into your course, you want to be in the best teams, right? You want the best people that you know suit your skill set. If my skill set is one thing, I want someone else who complements mine. When someone hasn't done a placement, their skill set is so much smaller that no one wants them in their group. It's mean, but you're trying to create beautiful things and better things. So if you don't do a placement, you won't be in a good group, you won't get a good grade. And this is sort of simplifying it down, but I don't know anyone who got first who didn't go on placement. Their work is less good, they don't have as much experience, and they struggle to find jobs. I reckon it probably takes on average a year longer maybe to find a job. Out of my friends that didn't do a placement, they struggle to find a design-related job straight after. Whether you do a BA or BSc is not quite so much an issue because you're going to be doing slightly different jobs. Anyway, a BA doesn't always do as technical stuff as maybe I did as a BSc. They're going to be doing something else that I can't do because that's not my skill set. So whether you do BA or BSc is not an issue. Unless you like technical stuff and you want to do a BA, because the BAs don't get involved in maybe the more technical side of things. Is there a hand over there? Yeah.
How difficult is it to get into those top 6 universities?
If you can get the grades, then it's probably not a problem. Like I said, all 3 of us that applied for Brunel, we all applied for Loughborough too, and probably other universities. We all had interviews and we all got offers from all of the universities we applied for. So if you're doing this course with Sim, then you've got a chance. It's a hard course to get on, I'm not going to lie, you can't just sit back. But at the same time, if I think how much hours I put in with sim when I was here, in my final year I would get in early, I would spend time in the studio, then lunch times in the workshop, and I spent a hell of a lot of time doing this course. It then reflected in the way that my grades were inconsistent. I did very well in product, not so well in maths, not so well in psychology, and awfully good in the IT. But if you love product and you love design and you're passionate about it and willing to put the time in, you should be able to get into all of those universities I put on. And I think most of it's about passion. When I had my interviews, the portfolio was good enough and more. They said it doesn't matter about that. If you're doing this course, if you're talking to sim, your portfolio will be good enough. Sim won't let it not be. Putting a lot onto there, Sim, but it's your passion. That's what it comes down to. Like, if you like it, then you'll get it. But people don't want to put people on their course that aren't excited by product because they're not going to put the time in. You end up working 7 days a week. You end up missing things because you're trying to. Well, I say that there's two ways of doing it. You can either push for a high first and put 7 days a week into it, spend all your time on it, and just enjoy doing what you're doing. Or you can spend a lot more partying, you get a 2-1, or you can spend a hell of a lot of time partying, get 2-2, and then really struggle to get a job. But I don't think it's worth going to uni if you're aiming for 2-2 because people who I know have got 2-2s haven't got jobs. So, but you guys all should be good enough to get at least 2 1s or more.
But do you need to be doing like physics and maths and stuff?
No.
Not
So I work on a fairly technical side of design, doing what I do, and I got an ASC in maths on my second time doing it. I did AS maths, and I did it again when I was in A2, because it was just hard, man. If any of you guys are doing maths, please admit it is hard. As long as you understand the basics, like the pure basics, you can get by, because in design you always have someone who's an expert doing these things for you. So when I was at SMR, the guy who did all the calculations, he had a PhD. He was an expert in doing the calculations I needed him to do. There's no point me being an expert in that. It's much more better for someone who has that skill set to do it. You just need to be the creative guy that can solve all the problems that they maybe can't solve.
But the universities don't go like, oh, he's done music tech, that's completely irrelevant.
No, because that's a pretty creative subject. You know, it shows that you have the creativity. If you're really into music tech, then that's fine. I work with people who are passionate about product and passionate about other things. My boss is an ex-professional athlete. My graphic designer is an ex-professional musician. Okay, they came to design slightly later than me, and they're all way older than me. But my boss, he's ex-R&D director from Adidas. So, you know, you can become a professional athlete, get a degree, and then do some pretty cool jobs. Yeah, and same with my graphic designer. He became a musician first, toured around Europe, did his thing, got that out of his system, then did his degree, and now is a graphic designer. I would recommend doing your degree at the same time you're doing those things, because that's what my boss did, and it put him in a much better position than my graphic designer, who's now, it's taken him a long time to get where he is. But I wouldn't say that's even a slight worry.
How many years do you go after uni?
So I graduated, you then have all the exhibitions. After the exhibitions I probably had a couple of weeks off because I was really destroyed after like spending that much time working. Because towards the end as well, you're putting so much of yourself into it, or at least I was. That, and I do probably need to stress that I'm probably slightly too obsessive about what I did at uni, and you don't have to go as perhaps crazy as much as I did, but I had goals that I wanted. I wanted to win certain awards, I wanted to get a certain degree, and I managed to do that, but I probably set quite high standards than maybe not everyone probably wants to do that. So you can have more fun than maybe I did, but I was so destroyed after that. I took 2 weeks off, I did an internship, I then went on holiday, got my sailing qualifications, and then got this job. So I probably had a couple of months off going on holiday and sailing, so I probably didn't do not everyone might want to do that, but I was so destroyed after uni that I needed those couple of months just to go sailing. Really.
How many days did you apply to before you accepted?
Maybe third one, fourth one. So I don't know, probably 5. So as soon as I graduated, I had maybe 2 jobs that, when I look back, I wasn't suitable for. And then, yeah, like I said, probably a couple months. And then I had 2 jobs, interviews that, after I come back from holiday, literally like the next week, I had 2 jobs that were very similar. One that I now do, and the one that was at the same sort of thing, but at Nottingham University, so a better university for design. But the particular project, and I must admit, I don't interview well. I told them it was rubbish, and they didn't like that. So I didn't get that. And then I came here, and I was super impressed. When you have a guy who's ex-head of R&D of Adidas, you kind of tend to be fairly amazed. And he sort of slightly points to some of the shoes that our students are wearing that he's designed. Then, yeah, I had a lot of respect. And I think it's important that you get a job that you really want. That's the thing, is as long as it takes less than 6 months, take your time if you can, and get something that you want. I've got a lot of mates that hate their job, really hate their job. And because they got into it straight after uni. They graduated, had a week, and then maybe 2 weeks just to recruit, move, and they hate their jobs. And then it's hard to get out because you're now in London spending crazy money on your rent, and you'd have to make some big changes. So, questions? More left? I like to get like a good array. Guys over there on the left, or even ladies over there on the left. No questions? Are you convinced? Are you going to go to university? Are you going to go do design? How many people have wait?
So like with modules, are you able to like tailor them towards the sort of job that you're looking for, or are they just like standard?
Slightly, yes. You don't specialise until your final year, and it's the decision between doing lots of CAD, doing lots of graphic design, or doing human factors. So I chose to do lots of human factors because when you do lots of CAD, it's a lot more calculations, and you spend so much time looking at the screen, which for me boring. For other people, they love it. I like human factors because you get to talk to people, work with people, and start making a difference in their lives. Like I said, with the exoskeletons and stuff, that's really interesting when you see what people's problems are and see how you could fairly easily solve them and create solutions where they're happier, safer, more comfortable. So that's probably why I suppose I'm in human factors. But you do get to choose, but not until final year. But at that point, you don't realise, I don't think, it takes a long time before you maybe know what you want to do. What you think you might want to do now might be